As we look directly at the gaming industry, as we look at the gaming media, we see a number of inconsistencies. We see a number of, let's say, biases when it comes to the gaming industry. For example, we see Jeff Keighley, a juggernaut in the gaming industry, would have never tweeted about the layoffs Sony recently had. However, he was very, enthusiastic to tweet about PlayStation selling 75 million consoles. Now, if that isn't industry bias, I don't know what is. But that's not all. We are seeing very clear what kind of time IGN is on. Because to believe, IGN gave Concord, practically the worst game this generation, a 7 out of 10. Hear me out. IGN gave Concord a 7 out of 10. Well, it just so happened that, IGN, the same IGN who would have given Concord a 7 out of 10, recently gave Avowed a 7 out of 10. So a world-class RPG, IGN would have given that also a 7 out of 10. Could someone make it make sense? How could they give Concord a 7 out of 10 at the same time give Avowed 7 out of 10? Something isn't right. Something smells fishy. Despite all the negative news Microsoft has been getting in the past few months, we are still seeing that games like Avowed is still breaking through when it comes to things like Steam. Avowed right now is currently number 1 selling game on Steam. Yes, wow, Avowed, a Game Pass game, is number 1 on Steam, and we are just talking about the the early access gamers. Isn't that something else? So if you ask any pony cultist what they think about Xbox, they would say that Xbox is dead. Xbox, there's no need to own an Xbox, and Microsoft is getting out of the console business. But ponies, could you answer me one question? Why is Xbox getting over 95% of the games shown at your recent showcase? Why is that? Why are all these companies porting their games to a dead platform? Could any one of these ponies answer me that question? I mean, it's very clear that the reason why persons are angry with the state of play that would have shown is because Sony did not show any first-party content that their fans wanted. They did not show any gameplay that their fans wanted. They showed one new franchise that was made by a PlayStation studio, and they showed a third-party exclusive. But when it came to the major titles that persons wanted to get updated on, Sony didn't show it. That is why they have guys like RGT saying this.
Where the hell were PlayStation Studio games? The only 2 first-party games, the only 2 non-multi-platform games, well, I think Lost Soul Aside is not a multi-platform game. I think that's a PlayStation third-party exclusive. But as far as PlayStation Studio games are concerned, the reason that people are tuning into this show, you show Days Gone Remastered, you show Soros, which is a 2026 game, and you don't even show any gameplay. What the hell is coming out in 2025? What like seriously, I'm just asking a question. What is coming out in 2025 for the PlayStation 5 from PlayStation Studios? Now you could say, well, RGT, maybe they got a bunch of games coming out in the fall, the holiday season, maybe Venom and maybe one of those live service games. If that's the case, why are you showing me a 2026 game to end the show with no gameplay? That was nothing. I almost feel like I wasted my time watching this show, because if you know anything about me, I have a PlayStation 5. I am a member of the PlayStation console family because I like first-party PlayStation games, and that's what I play on my PlayStation 5.
Yes, Sony is getting exposed. Sony is getting exposed for the lack of first-party games, and their fans are getting exposed because just like how the fans said in previous years that Xbox fans should demand better, now we are seeing that they are the ones should demand better. Instead, do you know what these ponies are doing when they heard all this pushback from the state of play? Of course, they are going to defend Sony to the last dying breath.
This kind of falls back to what I was saying, where it's like, it's very bizarre to me. It's very bizarre to me that I continue to encounter so many people, and it's becoming a trendy thing to do, by the way. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but to me, this is the saddest part, where it's like the trendy thing to do now is to like just basically be like, yeah, Sony sucks, or where's the where are the games, Sony? And that's just where it's like, you know what, man, you don't play on PlayStation, and you don't play PlayStation games. You don't. You know you don't. Because if you did, you literally couldn't say that. You could not say that. It's wild, dude. You're talking about the same people that when Astrobot came out, oh, that doesn't matter. Who cares about Astro? It's just a kid's game. Then it goes on to win Game of the Year. Still doesn't matter. You're talking about the same people. It's like Helldivers 2 comes out. Yeah, it did better on PC, bro. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't count. Like, what are you people talking about?
Yes, they cannot handle it, guys. They cannot handle any criticism of Sony. Look how angry MBG got just hearing any kind of negative news towards Sony and that state of play. Now, MBG didn't stop there. He had some smoke for RGT. Listen.
You know, one of the first things I saw, and I talked about this live when we were reacting to the stream, one of the first things I saw, I happened to go on Twitter, the first post that came up was RGT85, who I have no problem with at all. But, you know, he put out a post where he was like, does PlayStation Studios even make games anymore? And the reason why that frustrated me is not because I have a problem with him, not because I want to evoke violence to anybody, Rich Rod, but it's because I feel like that's placating, dude. Like, I feel like you know what you're doing here.
Yeah! They squabbling out in there. Yeah!
So MBG did not like what RGT said about the PlayStation state of play. But that wasn't the only one defending Sony after the backlash of that state of play. No, of course not. We had the non-pony, according to him, Jimmy Neutron, who would have written an entire thesis as to why you were wrong. That PlayStation state of play was hotter than your grandmother baked potatoes.
If you look at the last 6 months, if you go all the way back to September and you just track what has happened in the last 6 months, PlayStation has either released a first-party game that just won another Game of the Year award, Astrobot, if they've either released a first-party or announced a first-party game, and that totals up to 6. They released Astrobot. They announced Ghosts of Yote. They announced Death Stranding 2. They announced Intergalactic. They gave us a release date and a bunch of gameplay for Lost Soul Aside, and then they just announced Sorrows. That's 6 first-party games. That is 6 games in 6 months that we heard about or got announced or got to see. What more do you want? What cadence of announcements or information do you think you're entitled to every time somebody comes out and does a state of play or a showcase? Are they supposed to show you everything that they're working on? You have to have a little bit of mystery. You have to have a little bit of secrecy. You can't just have everything out there in view of the public. We don't ask this of Nintendo. We don't ask this of Xbox.
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
We don't demand that they litter every show with only first party or more first party than they've shown.
What a non-pony. What a non-pony Jimmy Neutron is defending Sony with his last dying breath. Wow. And of course, this defense force will not be complete without J-Dub telling his pony brothers that they are wrong to say that this state of play was a hot mess.
So I'm like, with all these games that they showed, and they were highly graphically demanded, Lost Soul aside, that's coming in a couple of months, right? Looked amazing. With all of these
May
games
30th.
that they showed,
May 30th, Jay.
You May the 30th. I just didn't expect a lot. Directive 8020 as well. That's a the supermassive game. For those of you guys that like supermassive games, but I didn't expect people to have some of the reception that it is. Obviously, I know. Obviously the Xbox guys, they were going to do what they do, right? They were, I expect that. Even the PC guys, right? But there was some PlayStation guys that were like, oh man,
yeah, there was a lot
I expect X, Y, and Z. And what it is before we have every show, all the rumors kick up. And then everybody put together their wish list. And when they don't see the wish list, then it's like, oh man, blah, 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 And it's like, nobody expected Ghost of Yotai to show up, a month and a half, 2 months ago. That showed up at the Game Awards. Nobody knew Intergalactic, right? Because, hey.
No, I think you know what it was, Jay. Intergalactic was at the Game Awards, and Yotai was at the last State of Play, I believe.
Okay, yeah. So I got it twisted around. But still, those are games that Sony just drop out of the blue that nobody knew existed. And so there is this. It feels like there's just this urge. It's like, I don't care about all those games that they showed. I only care about whatever is AAA, Sony, first party studio. No other games outside of that exist. And here's the thing. I get it. To each opinion. I only gave you guys my opinion of what I expected. And everyone is going to be different. So my opinion does not, I don't hold everybody else to that. But it's like, what about all these games that they showed? Are you guys not going to buy any of that? Are you not interested in any of that? Because if that's the case, this is why we don't get sequels to games. This is why we don't, these studios close down and they go through all of this stuff. Because, guys, we have to buy and support these games.
Listen to these ponies cope, man. Listen to these guys cope. Ponies, listen to me carefully. That show was a 4 out of 10 at best. It was a good multi-plat show, not a good Sony show. Deal with it. You see, the copium is so thick with the PlayStation community right now that they have my intros going longer than 10 minutes. Look at this. So you know what? Let's keep exposing these ponies right now and Sony. So you know what? Let's get it.
This is a sickness!
Let's get it. So guys, I don't want this video to go on too long, so do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. No doubt it would help the video, and it would also help the channel as we are on our goal to 4,000 subscribers. So if this content interests you, please hit that like and subscribe button and help me out today. So you know what? Let's get back to the video. First up, let's talk about Sony selling 75 million consoles. You see, Sony would have just announced in their recent financial update that they sold 75 million consoles. Now, this was very surprising even to Sony, because they knew they had no heavy-hitting first-party AAA games to push or drive consoles. Because, as most of you all know, this is what the PlayStation fan says is what does push consoles, which is consoles exclusive. But we know that was not the case. So who is buying all of these consoles? It's very clear that the casual gamers, yes, the ones who are into the multiplats, they are the ones who are buying the PlayStation console. So in other words, PlayStation has the mind share of the gaming community, yes. So it's showing that Microsoft needs to improve when it comes to advertising and showing gamers the benefits of owning an Xbox or being on the Xbox platform compared to Sony. So they need to work on the mindshare of the consumers. But I digress. So this is the talking point that the PlayStation community is using now. They are saying, wow, what really matters is this 75 million consoles sold. Forget about first party games, forget about second party games. We are only concerned about the 75 million consoles sold, because guess what, we play consoles, we don't play games. So this is what the PlayStation community is saying now. Now let's see, based on what these ponies are boasting about, which is this financial sales. Let's see what is behind the curtain, because currently we are seeing that it's being reported that Sony is at an all-time high when it comes to revenue. They have made more money now than ever before when it comes to the revenue. However, when it is you take a closer look, and you know who's giving us that closer look? Derek Strickland. And what he is saying is that Sony is not painting the complete picture. He said, and I quote, despite the new revenue record, PlayStation Q3 FY24 operating margin was just 7%. Now, if Sony sold more hardware than they ever sold before, more software than they ever sold before, why are their take-home only 7%? You see, the operating margin, guys, are the percentage of revenue left after accounting for expenses. So yes, after Sony would have made all these games, published games and so forth, when it's all said and done, all they went home with, or their takeaway, was $775 million. Now if you was to compare that to Microsoft operating income for their last quarter, you see a stark difference. Look at this. So Xbox revenue for the last quarter was 69.6 billion, up 12% year on year, and their operating income was 31.7 billion, up 10% year over year. So although Microsoft, according to these ponies, sold 2 million, which is a lie, we are seeing here that they are beating Sony when it comes to the operating income. Sony is in the single digits despite selling 1 billion consoles, according to these ponies, but yet Microsoft only sold a measly 2 million consoles, but yet they are getting a higher operating income. What's going on here? So we are seeing very clear that not because you are selling all these consoles, it paints the entire picture that here what your business is doing the best. We are seeing Microsoft is doing pretty good despite selling less consoles than Sony. Not 2%, not 2 million. However, it was about 5 million they sold last year. But not only that, guys, these guys said that Microsoft is going to get out of the hardware business because they are not selling consoles. Despite that, look at this article here. Xbox Game Pass earned almost 3 billion revenue on console in 2021. So here we are seeing another incentive for Microsoft, making consoles, because, they are making a lot of money from Game Pass on console alone. We're not talking about PC as yet. We're not talking about any other platform, just on console. We also saw a recent article written by Tweetong saying this: Xbox Series generation helped make $80.8 billion for Microsoft. Wow. So we are seeing that the hardware and the entire basically storefront that is on the hardware would have made a lot of money for Microsoft. Now, that is why Phil Spencer would have said this in his recent interview.
I would love to make all of the money for all of the games that we ship, right? Like, obviously, we make more on our own platform. It's one of the reasons that investing in our own platform is important.
Yes, Phil Spencer basically said the most obvious thing. Microsoft makes more money on their platform. So if they get rid of their platform, if they get rid of the box, they get rid of the storefront, they would be at the mercy of the other, game manufacturers. And Microsoft don't want that. It doesn't make good business sense. That is why we are seeing reports that the next Xbox has already been approved. Yes, the next Xbox is being developed at Microsoft as we speak. Xbox reporter says Series X and S successor has been fully approved by Microsoft. So it's very clear that throughout this video you would have seen proof that console sales is not the only thing that matters, because it's very clear Sony did not make as much money as Xbox last quarter, and we are seeing that here Xbox has approved their next home console. This says a lot. This says that here the Xbox gaming ecosystem is growing stronger, it's getting better, and we have a lot in store for us in the near future. Now, please let me hear what you thought about the entire video. Let me hear what you think in the comment sections below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.